Greetings, ladies and managers, and welcome to the latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Magic Words, written by the LordsOfJoop. The advocate from the Global Leadership Council sat across from his galactic empire equivalent and smiled in that infuriating way that only Earthborn humans can. After 6 generations since day one contact was established formally, humanity has propelled a score of colonies in 3 different arms of the galaxy, and there was always a push for more pioneers at the raw edge of the cosmos. Clearing their throat, they repeated their last statement to the advisor. "We surrender," he said, and sipped a glass of water thoughtfully provided by the guest services of their host, the people of the Deny cluster. Amicable enough, they seemed to cotton on well with the humans, frequently adopting them, both in mannerisms and culture, and exchanging frequent economic favors. Odd, considering the pirate-like Deny admired so few other sentient species, even out of the 1,300-plus members of the council itself. Glaring at the suspiciously passive Earthborn, the advisor, who sat on 5 review committees and the analysis commission for integrating new species into the collective, squinted all 5 of his eyes in the unusual mixture of doubt and confusion. They'd heard of the trickery and frequent violence endemic to the species after all. "What do you mean we surrender?" The human, all 2 meters of them, nodded softly. "Simply that. We, as a species, are hereby surrendering any and all rights and responsibilities to our stated foes in the ongoing war, which would be your own race, as of last 5 hours. The war, mostly a formality as the battle lines weren't even drawn, had just been bottlenecked as it became ghoulish to be simultaneously preparing for war against an opponent which had just unilaterally surrendered. It also broke almost 950 aspects of the Covenant of Responsibilities and Rights of the Sapient Lifeforms Agreement, a charter element of the doctrine of law and faith. In their 1,500-year history as an elevated species, 0 species had ever surrendered without so much as a single shot being fired. What? The human nodded yet again, elaborated. "Our entire population, of which I am an elected representative, pursuant to the mandate of warfare declared per the dictum of your species, signed charter, line 9515, subset 6, am surrendering the entirety to your species' care and handling, in direct accordance with the Covenant of Responsibilities and Rights of Sapient Lifeforms Agreement, line 5. All life must be cherished, supported, and maintained in dignity and health by an aggressor who has declared legal combat against it. Should it surrender?" The human smiled again, broad at this time. Staring at the bureaucratic nightmare still unfolding in front of them, the advisor turned to their side, leaning over to key up their comms suite, finding their analyst already citing chapter and verse as to the accuracy, the legally binding nature, and the grade school level brief. Aghast, he turned back to see that the human was already holding up a highlighted page on a digital pad, sliding it into their immediate vicinity on the glossy table. "I've taken the liberty of switching the text formatting to your native tongue, which I hope isn't too presumptuous of me," the human said, somehow smiling even more. Gasping, the advisor mutely accepted the tablet, eyes glazing over as it was reviewed, a pit opening in their upper stomach as the reality of it sunk in, hard and fierce, and tears threatened to fall. There's got to be a mistake," the advisor said. How can we take you at your word, and there's 19 billion of you?" They almost shouted the final word, dropping the tablet. The human, patient and even benevolent, then tapped a second tablet, placing it within arm's reach of the advisor. "The diaspora, who have long since agreed to follow the fractional majority of the voting public," they said politely, "can be contacted directly through their respective media representatives. You'll find that the absolute majority, in the 97th percentile, are in full agreement that we are unilaterally surrendering to you." The smile against all probability grew yet again. Shuddering, the advisor reached for their comms suite, reading only the initial headers of the messages which flew across the screen. Calls for violence against him, a general advocacy vote for their immediate removal, some dismissals from assorted organizations. Word about the surrender, it seemed, had leaked already. We We can't support that. The human, leaning in, folded their hands primly and angled their head, a gesture of thoughtful pause ensuing. Yet, they said firmly, you wish to make war with us, knowing what we can and have done in the past, aware that we would and have died by the millions to win. You, who have the single largest fleet of star cruisers, fighter bombers, and an arsenal like any 60 species combined. And now, well, you're saying that you can't afford to win? They furrowed their eyebrows, shaking their head. No, they continued. You wanted war. Congratulations, you've won. Now we are the wounded and aggrieved. We're entirely your responsibility. You must feed us, ensure that we're all healthy, and provide us with reasonable means to settle in non-dominion space, as to elevate ourselves according to writ and mandate. They leaned in further. Your own writ, your own mandate. This is your victory. Take some pride in it. Then they smiled wide enough, it seemed, to split their head in two. Their eyes gleamed with malicious intent, masquerading only just with civility and charm. The advisor steeled their resolve and then said, We are allowed, with a nervous swallow, their tone brisk, their meager attempt to control the narrative, to have victory parades on your home world, on your colonies, through your heartlands, annually in fact, and there's, almost 80 cities per settled world? To this, the human nodded, that infuriating nod. Absolutely, we encourage it, they said. However, we're not required to be present for them. Those parades will be held for empty boulevards, you'll find. Weeks, even months of travel, so your drivers can air out their vehicles. Parade-stomping troops can get a long, strong view of whatever art we happen to display for them. And then it'll be weeks, even months of cramped, unpleasant conditions, reviewing their thoughts about you and your impressions on how they should spend their time. The smile became even bigger, this time exposing teeth. The human took another drink of water. Now, they continued, myself, I wouldn't want to be aboard one of those ships with well-armed, angry southern ground troops, some of whom may not share your zealotry. Might even go so far as to say, it'd be downright unpopular decision, holding those parades to celebrate this victory. They shrugged. Your call, I guess. Staring at the space between them, the advisor held their head in their hands, sobbing softly. The grim future ahead of them now crystal clear. Somehow, enough funds would have to appear to support billions of suddenly suffering refugees, all in the name of victory on paper, with no territory gained with occupying. But, what if we surrendered to you? The advisor said, eyes brimming with tears. The human, leaning over, squeezed their shoulder, a warm, comforting touch. I thought you would never ask. They rose to their full height, extending their hand across the desk, and smiled in genuine appreciation. First, they said, you have to say the words. The future, suddenly dark, grew a spot of hope. We surrender. Two people shared a smile and a future for the first time. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.